Okay, now I'm back and you're back. Hope you had a good cup of coffee. And after this general introduction of election system, which was which was in fact it didn't go completely into the details. It was more on the general issues. So in a way, it's very superficial. And as I will repeat again, the devil is in the detail. As this course is taking point of departure from Denmark, then I will give you I will inform about the election system in Denmark. And in fact, most Danes, they don't think about it, but they just vote. And all the parliamentarian election is more than 80%. I think it's 82 or 83%, which are voting every year. And it's among the highest in the world. Sweden, it's slightly higher. South Korea is slightly less. Belgium is higher, but there, in fact, you'll be fine if you don't vote. And in Denmark, the Danish system is very easy in that way. All of us, we have our own unique number, the central personal number, which is everything which is related to this. And I know that in the United States, you don't have a uniform system for all over the country. But so in Denmark, you will know whether people are is a voter or has the right to vote. That's from this central system. Yes, the election system example, Denmark. And again, May 1st, this manifestations is the workers' day today. The workers are celebrating, and there are no manifestations in the big parks. Instead, they are doing everything online. So in that way, it's a little bit more boring to have the 1st of May celebrations in Denmark. Although it's not a holiday, but many of the blue-collar workers, it's part of their bargaining agreement that they have the day off, the 1st of May. But as we are not blue-collar workers, we'll have to work. So here we got. In Denmark, we have the parliament, which is called Folketinget. And it's an old word, Scandinavian word or Nordic word. And that was the place where all the people were, all the free men during the time of the Vikings, the free men, they were situated, they went to a special place, normally on a hill, where they, once in a while, they made all different sorts of decisions, and they also make judgment regarding people if they have done something wrong and things like that. So that was also this. So this was, and then that's from the time of the Viking, and then Volk means people. It's very close to the German word Volke. Yeah. So it's the people decision-making place. It is, and it's constituted of maximum 179 members. That's what the Constitution says, and it's they elected by common, direct, and secret ballot, and it's proportionally. So if you get 10% of the vote, you get 10% of the seat. And then there's a geographical distribution of seats. It should consider inhabitants, number of voters, and the population density. That's also what the Constitution stipulates. It's elected for 4 years. The mandate or the seat remain until a new election. So you are still a member of parliament until there have been a new election and new members have been elected. So the prime minister cannot just sack people or sack the parliament or the parliament or the king, but it is in reality it's the prime minister. So and it's the Folketing itself, or the parliament itself, who decides on the validity of its members' election. There are some people who the parliament consider that they are not honorable enough to sit in the parliament. They can have been doing some bad things. They could have been into prisons. And if somebody is prosecuted among its members, then in fact the whole parliament takes up whether the person is worthy to sit in the parliament. But it's a big discussion also because it's again we have had some cases where people have been in prison, but then the people of parliament say, yeah, but people know that the person has been in prison and taken a turn. So if people decide that the person is going to be worthy to parliament, the parliament will in fact accept that's the case. The king and the queen may at every time call for a new election. It's stipulated it's the king and the queen, but it is de facto the government. The king and the queen has today only a symbolic power, and she is signing the laws, and she is nominating the one who is going to be in leading the negotiation after an election. Otherwise, there's not much. And that's all. The rest is stipulated in the election law, and the last was passed by Parliament in 2017. It's not something which is changed every year. The seats, the 175 seats, then we have the 2 for Greenland and 2 for Faroe Island. And then it is 135, they are geographically constituted mandates. So it's to ensure that all parts of Denmark, that they have seats. So there is some sort of a local connection in relation to this. And then there's 40 additional mandates to make up for if there is there are some areas which is underrepresented according to the population. But it is like this. Then every time, once in a while, when they make a new law, they adjust it according to the population size, as I mentioned before. So, but we are secure that we have 135, which is in fact represented from the different areas. So in that way, with the 40 additional mandates, should make it up so there are no lost votes. It's not like in the US, first past the post. So the winner takes all. The same in UK, the winner takes all, and then the rest is lost. So you can have, in theory, 49% of all the votes, but you have 0 seats in parliament. In theory. So that's in that way, it's to show that all the votes are accounted for. And then, but they have made a special rule for Denmark proper, and that is in fact, and that's the island where I come from, Bornholm, which is an island of 40,000 people, in order to secure that they are represented. So they, in fact, 2 of the 135 seats are always, they will be from Bornholm. Even though, in fact, there's not numbers of voters enough. It's about that 30,000 seats, and 30,000 voters, and in fact, an average vote is costing 20,000 votes. So to secure Bornholm's representation, then there are 2. So in a way, that's the 2 cheapest seats, because you just need about 10,000 votes, then you have the seat. But that will be compensated by the parties who lose the votes there, but they will be compensated by getting a share of the 40,000 additional mandates, or the 40 additional mandates. Every 5 years, they make an assessment due to the change in demography. It's again like in all other countries, more people, they move from the rural side and they move to the major cities, the 5, 6 major cities. That's where they go, particularly Copenhagen. Sorry. It's moving. Yeah. Then it's again, how do you then account for the different mandates? That is, in effect, they use the D'Hondt method. As you know from the article, there's two major methods in our to calculate the different mandates from the different regions. And that is, in fact, that's the D'Hondt method. It's again the one who gets the most. First, you multiply by 1 the number from different parties, then by 3, then 5, then 7. And then it's the highest number who gets all the mandates. It sounds very complicated, and most Danes, they don't know anything about it. But at the end of the day, if you have 2% of the votes, you get 2% of the seats. If you have 20%, you get 20% of the seats. But if there's not lost votes, because then you may get a little bit more. And that is because if you are a party and you get less than 2%, then in fact all your votes are lost. And in the last election, we had in fact 3 parties who didn't make it to the parliament. 3 right-wing parties. So in fact, this time the left, they won, but they were even more overrepresented because there was a split of the votes at a lot of small parties who almost made it. Voters only 1 vote. So it's only 1 cross you have to put on either at the party or an individual list. If you put more than 1 cross, it's not valid. So it is, in that way, it's very simple. Yes. Then it's about the party. And there, as according to what kind of election it is, then it's a mixed in that way, because it's up to the party to decide how the list shall be. Some party, 1 party at least, and that's the Unity or the Red Green list, they have a closed list. They put up, so all the voters, they can vote on the individual or the party. And if you do the individual, you also vote for the party at the same time. But in that party list, number 1 is decided by the party, and it will be that one who will go in, whoever is getting more votes. So that is that. Then you have a party list, open flexible list. It's in all constituency, and there are 17 of these in Denmark. And where there is 1 which is nominated by the party. But if somebody lower down is getting more votes than the one in the party, then the one will get into parliament. But it's very difficult, because what it is, all the vote for the party will go to number 1, until number 1 has sufficient to get in. The surplus will go to number 2 and 3 and things like that. So it's difficult to, to break the list in that way, but it's possible. Then you have an open list, where that some of the parties where it's the one who get more postal votes get the seat. So people are, even though you see them like this in a row, then in fact it's the same. It's whatever the one who gets the most get into personal vote to get the seat, if the party is getting seats. Then people can vote for the party, and in fact more and more they do that. It's a tendency, so fewer and fewer is doing on the individual, and in general when people are voting for the person, it's also for the party. That's not so different. It's only when it's very special, if the prime minister, then many ride on the prime minister. If some very famous person is running for one party, then that is also in fact happening, and they can take quite a lot of votes. So the prime minister, next time there will be election, she'll get a lot of personal votes. But it doesn't matter so much for the party, only if she's capable of, in fact, take votes from the other parties. Election, parliament. That's a big celebration in Denmark when we have election. It's really, it's always on a Tuesday, and it's a normal working day. Some schools are closed because you use them as a election for having the election, or at least the rooms where they're going to use the election. And in fact, you are free to get off from the work in order to do, if you have to do some work during the election time. And most of it, it's all done by voluntary workers. Here you can see the last one we had, election day. It was the 5th of June 2019. 5th of June is a very special day. It's our Constitution Day. It's the closest day we have to a national holiday. And in fact, it's only half day off from work. So it's not a holiday like in national holiday like in many other countries. Up on the left, you can see the picture there. People are standing in queue. They have got a letter and now it's electronic letter, which they can go and use to show who they are. And often they don't need to do that. They just need to have some identification, and then they go. And those who are sitting behind, they come from different parties, and all the parties who are standing for election, they are represented. And they normally have a big, it's a feast that day for those people. They are working hard that day, but they have a lot of fun, and that's in doing it. I've heard a lot of nice stories from that. And you can see there's some young one in the picture. You have to be 18 in order to vote, and you have to be 18 in order to get a seat. And the child you see is not allowed to vote. It's just brought with the parents there. Then you can see the feet on the boat because it's secret ballot. You can see below, you could see part of the, what's called the paper you vote on. And here it's all those who are in your area who are standing for election. And they have a special letter. For instance, O, that's the letter of the Danish Populist Parties. And in that area, it's 6 people who are standing for election there. And some of the lower down, it may be, and here you can see also the name, and it's according to, Dansk Folkeparti, that is according to, there they have it, the one who gets the most personal votes get in. And you can see the names, they are according to the letter, the family name. So Annette Buchard is the first, and Karen Storker is the last. And here also Venstre, the Danish liberals, which is more conservative, seen in the US context. And here there's different parties which are running from there also. There's also according to the name. So it's not party list or the party who's deciding who is getting in. But you put one cross, and here's one person who's putting one cross at the Liberal Party, and you bring it into the box, and the box there, and then you put your cross, then you put it in the boxes. You see some of those help us during the day. They put it, once in a while they bring out the boxes in order to, but the control and the counting is this party volunteers, and they are in relative very quick. So about 12 o'clock, the elections are closed at 8. And then at 12, we know who's going to be the prime minister, more or less, if it's not really a hung parliament. About 25,000 people had already voted in beforehand by votes of letter. That's also, I think, until 2 or 3 days before you are permitted to vote. And they have a system so they can see that people are not voting twice. So we were having the election on the Constitution Day last year, and it was fantastic weather. I still recall it. And here you can see the result. And in that, it was the Social Democrats, they got the most, almost 26%, and the Liberal, they got 23.4. yeah, I don't want to, in fact, use the word liberal together with you because it has another connotation. In Denmark, they are very right wing, uh, and they, in fact, they have cooperation with Republicans in the United States. And then you go down, and then you can see some smaller parties which get less than 2% of the votes. That is E, the list E. That is one. It's called Klaus Riske. That is a name of a person, a famous or infamous businessman who now he would like to change everything. So he has been in prison for some time because of misuse of funds and things like that. A very interesting person, but he only got 1.6% of the vote. Then you have the Christian Democrats, 1.7. And then you have F, that is they 1.8, I think they got, and so these votes in fact are lost. And all these three parties, and they are in fact on the right side. So it's equal to 3, 6, 7 mandates, in fact, which is lost on the right side. So there. Yes, and then you can see the pictures on the top. You see the Prime Minister. She looks very happy. And beside is the former Prime Minister, who was Prime Minister twice. And in total, he was Prime Minister 6 or 7 years, I think he was. But now he's a backbencher in his party. He's lost his chairmanship in his party also. So he will not be a Prime Minister again. And then below, you can see the Prime Minister in front of the ministers. She has just been to the Queen, visiting the Queen, and announced who is going to be the government. And below, you see Rasmus Paludan, who is extremely controversial person. He's from this party, which got 1.8%. And he's really provocative, and he's provoking all the time regarding Muslims. And he's very much in stream, going having manifestations on Muslims' funerals, kids' funerals, and he needs police protection all the time. And fortunately, he didn't get in. But he's very much an extreme politics on. He's a lawyer by profession, but very much distance. Fortunately, he didn't get it. But I think they got $500,000 a year for the next 4 years on to the next election because of the numbers. So, and he is the one ruler of that party. So it's a very one-man party. That's really an authoritarian man. Then I'll examples from other countries. UK, that's it's also a parliamentary system, but they have the two-chamber system, and in fact they have the what do they have more? They have two-chamber system and first past the post. So it's like in the United States, the winner takes all, and in fact they are often discussing now we need to change to proportional because this is very unfair. And in the 90s, after there had been a lot of conservative governments, particularly Labour was also accepting it. And it was particularly the Liberal Party because they get about 20, sometimes 25% of the votes. But in Parliament, they only have a couple of percent seats due to the election system. So they convinced Labour that something had to change. When Labour came into power during Blair, then Labour was not that interesting anymore in dealing with it. Discussions why to have this first past the post and proportional system. It's the discussion after the Second World War was very much about, oh, let's have this first past the post. Otherwise, it can happen like in Germany, where we had this marginal party which is misusing democracy, and then in the end they are sitting and getting power. That has been a main argument. But with that argument, one could say it could easily also happen with a two-party state where one authoritarian rule leader took over and things like that. But that was one argument. Then Austria, I will give you 2 slides before I'll go to Sweden, because here they have 2 different systems. They have a president, and to some extent the president is like our queen. We don't elect our queen. She's in fact, her position is inherited, but they have an election every 6th year, and it's a 2 rounds system. So in order to win in the first round, you have to win at least 50% plus 1 vote to have a simple majority. If no candidate receives over 50, then you have to go to a second round where the 2 top candidates, they can be voted on. And it's very interesting that even though he's the head of state, but the president is more a symbol in Austria, then in fact quite a lot, I think Nina, she said it's about 78% who are voting the last time. And that's very high for it's again, if you talk about rational choice and think that why go and vote because that position doesn't have so much more symbolic influence. And but this time was also very interesting, and because normally it's always the Social Democratic or the Conservative Party who they have always won. But this time, in fact, it is one from the Green Party. They were capable of getting one guy who was very popular among the population, and he won. And it's also in a way to show that it's about the party political system. Otherwise, in general, most people, they don't know. For instance, in Germany, anybody who knew the name of the president of Germany? And I have to admit, I forgot again. But it's because that's not such an interesting position, because it's the head of the state, but it's more symbolic and formal and less. The most important is, of course, the chancellor, and we all know Merkel, Angela Merkel. So that's again, and that's also why the reason why in Denmark, for instance, we have I think even the Republicans, that means Republicans that you would like to have a republic, not Republicans in the US sense, they are in fact in favor of the monarchy as we are having, also because our royal family has been very shrewd, that's not the right word, but they have been following the time. It's not like in Great Britain, in fact, where people can say this is nowadays it's a little outdated, and the royal family is very far from where the British are today. But here, our queen, she has been very wise in modernizing the monarchy in Denmark, and it's going to be interesting to see when her son is taking over. And she just turned 80, and there was going to be a big party here 2 weeks ago with dignitaries from all over the world, and she canceled it due to the corona. So there was not so much a party for her, and she didn't want any flowers. All the flowers should be sent to old people's home because they needed flowers in this time. This is and then they have for the parliament. That's the federal parliament. In fact, they also have states there. And in the federal parliament, they are elected. They are also using the proportional representation system. And they select their party of choice. Then they select a candidate from that party. So you vote twice. So you vote for the party, and then you vote for a candidate. And there also they have 2 rounds. Despite the first round of vote counting, the proportion of parties determines the number of seats each party will get. And now that's not the next round in the vote counting, then the specific candidates from each party who will become parliament members are determined. And this is in fact completely the same in Denmark. 12 o'clock the election day at night, then we know how many seats different parties are getting, and then it can take some days before they have really accounted for who is going to get the last seats. And sometimes it can be it's really a complicated system, because it's from the Liberal Party. Oh, they have for one mandate, is it the one from the northern part of Jutland or from Copenhagen who's going to, and that is where you really need the system that's where the system becomes very complicated. So that was Austria, and thanks Nina for this. Another thing which they don't have in Denmark is about they have these states in Austria. See, and then it's about elections, how they are different. You saw the picture of the Danes; they were in line. In fact, there's no commercials for any of the political parties inside where you can vote. And in fact, there's a rule. I think it's about, and within 100 meters from a place where you're going to vote, you're not going to have any people who are standing and in order to solicit or convince people to vote on their party. That's in fact, but then you come to Sweden. Let's see whether it works. See, this is from the Danish television, and I'll show, it's a Danish journalist who's showing, in fact, how
Der har været meget debat om, hvordan de stemmer i Sverige. Er det demokratisk?
Yeah, and I will translate it. It's very much about the debate about how it's done in Sweden. And is it really a secret ballot?
Er det overhovedet hemmelig afstemning? Vi går ind på det her valgsted her bag mig, og så kigger vi på, hvordan det faktisk foregår, når de stemmer i Sverige.
I'll take out the sound, and then I'll just see. That's outside the voting. Then they're standing from different parties and handing out what's called the vote paper, the paper where we're going to vote, and the different parties have their different party. You can even see there's different colors. V, that means left. That is the left. That is the party, the Communist Party, which is there. So you get the paper from there, and then you go in. See. So that, see what's public. That sounds very public, isn't it? Then you go in, and that's for other parties there, the moderates, that's the conservatives. So you get one, in order to show that they cannot see, see? And here's also all the list of all the parties. They have different colors, they have different, see? And then you can take one of each. You get an envelope, see, that's the name of the party. And then you can, in fact, if you don't like anybody of those, you can put another name of yourself. You can put on the list also. I haven't heard anybody getting elected in that way, but that's in fact also possibilities. So it's a blank, and then you write the name on the page. So, and then the journalist there, he's getting the envelope. So he takes one from each party, because then nobody can see what he's voting for. So then he's going into the booth. He has made his election, and then he then he doesn't put it down in the box himself. Instead, he goes to them, who then put it down in the envelope. In fact, that is very different from in Denmark, where we make the cross, and then we have the whole paper with all the parties, and sometimes it can be very, very long, and then you put the whole down in the box yourself. But it's again in all the different countries, there's different peculiarities. The Danish system, which is, when you really go into the details, it can sound very, very complicated. But it is, for the general public, it is not. Because they know if a party gets 2% of the seats, they'll get in. And then there are some things, if you can get in if you have enough votes in one area to get one seat. But as I told you, it happened only once some years ago with a comedian who promised free beer in the market square in Aarhus, the second biggest town. He promised that you always would have tailwind when you were bicycling. All these kind of, and then he was elected. But otherwise, that exception to the rule. But it's not a point of discussion at all regarding the election in Denmark. It's generally understood. It's only for feinschmeckers. That means it's again at the end who's going to have the last seats from that party, either there or there or there. And yeah, sometimes the system is like this. So a person from one region can get in with extremely few personal votes. That is in fact happening. So that's all for me, and it's also all for today. I will have some small questions afterwards. Let's see whether I can do. No, it was not that one. Let's see, and then see you on Monday, 8, 9, 10, 11, and for Miss Molmar, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're going to deal with parties, and there is we're going to deal with the party systems and how it has evolved. And there is an article you have to read. Kindly read it. You can also read the book that you were supposed to read for Wednesday. There were some chapters, but there are several chapters on different countries if you would like to read them about the different party systems. As I said, in Denmark, there's a lot of trust in the system, and it's so close to one man, one woman, one vote. Is having the influence, and not so much about gerrymandering, which you're having in the UK, but particularly also some areas of the United States. That's not an issue in Denmark. And let's see here whether I can. No, yeah. Okay, that was the end. There will be some few questions that you'll have to answer in the assignment. But have a good day. And here, luckily, it has stopped raining. We had, after 3 weeks of sun, now we have had almost 3 days of rain. So suddenly we have rainy seasons and dry seasons. And we all say, oh, it's due to the climate change. Have a good day. See you on Monday.